The day they tagged my Mercedes, I knew the war had started. It wasn't just a car. That lowrider was my wife's dream. She'd sketched it on a diner napkin 6 months before the cancer took her. Candy apple red, chrome so bright it'd blind the sun. Took me 3 years to build it. Every bolt, every stitch of the white leather seats, every spray of the hydraulics. I did it for her, and for Lila, my daughter, who'd sit in the garage for hours, her tiny fingers tracing the Mercedes star while I worked. But the HOA didn't care about dreams. The violation notice was taped to my windshield like a slap. Inoperable vehicle, eyesore. Remove in 48 hours? Or fine $1,000. Lila wheeled herself down the driveway, her prosthetic leg clicking against the pavement. "Daddy, what's wrong?" "Nothing, mija," I lied, crumpling the paper. But by midnight, they'd towed it. The HOA president, Evelyn Carrington, met me at the community gates the next morning. Her blazer cost more than my mortgage. "Mr. Vega," she said, voice sweet as poison, "that thing violates our aesthetic code. We're a family community." I stepped closer, my mechanic's boots leaving grease on her perfect cobblestones. "That thing is my daughter's college fund. You tow it again, You'll what?" She smiled, nodding toward Lila's bedroom window. "File for bankruptcy? Again?" The air left my lungs. She knew about the medical bills, the second mortgage. The nights I'd sold my tools to keep Lila's physical therapy. That night, I found Lila crying in the garage, clutching a photo of her mom beside the half-built Mercedes. "They're gonna take our house too, right?" I knelt, grease-stained hands cupping her face. "Never." But the next violation wasn't for the car. It was for Lila's wheelchair ramp. "Unpermitted structure? Remove or face eviction." I stormed to the HOA office, the paper shaking in my grip. Evelyn wasn't there, just her assistant, a twitchy man with a security badge that read, "Compliance Officer." "Where's she hiding?" I growled. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "She's out, but Mr. Vega?" He slid a file across the desk. "You should look at this." Inside were blueprints. My house circled in red. A developer's logo stamped over it. "Lux Homes, modern townhomes coming soon." My blood turned to ice. They didn't want the car. They wanted my land. The black SUV showed up that night, parked across the street, engine idling. I recognized the driver. Evelyn's son, a guy with knuckle tattoos and a sneer he'd inherited from his mother. Lila peered through the curtains. "Who's that?" "Nobody," I said, dialing my cousin Marcos, my old army buddy. "Get here, now." But when Marcos arrived, he didn't come alone. A social worker stood beside him. "Anonymous tip," she said, holding up a photo of Lila's cluttered room. "Neglect." Marcos's jaw tightened. "Javi, they're playing dirty." I looked at Lila, her wide eyes reflecting the SUV's headlights. They weren't just coming for my car, they were coming for my daughter. The social worker's name was Ms. Torres. She wore a stiff pantsuit and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "We just need to check Lila's room, Mr. Vega. Routine." Lila gripped the wheels of her chair, her knuckles white. "I like my room." I'd spent hours cleaning, but the HOA's photo still haunted me. Toys scattered, medical supplies piled high. They'd been inside my house. Miss Torres snapped pictures of Lila's bed, her IV pole, her drawings taped to the wall. One sketch showed my Mercedes lowrider flying over a burning HOA sign. "Cute," Ms. Torres said flatly. "Her mom taught her to draw," I said, my voice sharp. She paused at the window. The black SUV was still there. "Trouble with neighbors?" "Just weeds," I lied. Marcos waited outside, leaning against his tow truck. "They're trying to scare you into selling, Javi. Classic bully playbook." They sent child services. This isn't about scaring me. He handed me a flash drive. Got a buddy in zoning. The HOA's already sold your lot to Lux Homes. Closing's in 2 weeks. The date punched me in the gut. Lila's birthday. They'll need you gone before then, Marcos said. Watch your back. That night, I found Lila in the garage, her small hands fiddling with the hydraulic pump from my Mercedes. I can fix it, Daddy. Then they'll have to give it back. I knelt beside her. You're supposed to be in bed, Bug. I heard you crying last night. She didn't look up. Was it about Mom? The garage light flickered. The SUV's engine growled outside. No, I said too quickly. Just grown-up stuff. The next violation came at dawn. Unsanitary living conditions. A photo of our trash cans overflowing with medical waste. Our trash cans, their hands inside our life. I drove to the HOA office, Lila's drawings crumpled in my fist. The twitchy compliance officer intercepted me in the parking lot. Don't go in there, he whispered, glancing over his shoulder. Evelyn's got cops in her pocket. They'll take Lila if you fight. Why are you helping me? He pressed a key card into my hand. Storage Unit 14B, proof they're bribing inspectors. His name tag read, Gabe. The storage unit smelled like rust and regret. Inside were boxes labeled Lot 14A. My mortgage papers, Lila's medical records, even my Army discharge files, and a ledger. Payment to County Inspector Number 12. $10,000. Ensure Vega property fails safety check. At the bottom, Evelyn's loopy signature. Lila tugged my sleeve. Daddy, look. A folder of blueprints, not for townhomes, for a parking garage. My house sat dead center. They weren't building homes. They were burying us. The SUV followed us back. I parked in the driveway, my hands shaking. Marcos's tow truck was gone. Lila stared at the keycard. Are we going to win? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. A photo of Marcos beaten and tied up in his own tow truck. Stop digging, or he's landfill. The photo of Marcos made my hands shake so hard I dropped the phone. Lila picked it up, her eyes widening. Is Tio Marcos hurt? Stay here, I said, stuffing the ledger and Gabe's keycard into my toolbox. Lock the door. Don't let anyone in. But Daddy... Now, Lila. She flinched at my tone. I hated myself for it. The text came as I peeled out of the driveway. Cedar Creek Dump. Come alone. 10 minutes. Marcos' tow truck sat in the shadow of a mountain of trash. 2 figures leaned against it. Evelyn's son, Kyle, and a cop with a badge I didn't recognize. Where's Marcos? I demanded. Kyle smirked, tossing a wrench from hand to hand. You don't get to ask questions, grease monkey. The cop stepped forward. Hand over the ledger, or your buddy becomes landfill fertilizer. I reached into my toolbox. They tensed, but I pulled out the ledger, its pages fluttering in the stinking wind. Let him go first. Kyle laughed. You're not in charge here. A muffled groan came from the tow truck's cab. Marcos's face pressed against the window, blood smearing the glass. The cop reached for the ledger. I yanked it back. Keys now. Kyle tossed them. You're dead either way, Vega. Marcos slumped against me as I dragged him to my truck. They're laundering money through the garage project, he rasped. Evelyn's brother? City council. Save your breath. Javi. He gripped my arm, his fingers bloody. The hit and run? Lila's accident wasn't random. The world tilted. What? Saw the police report. Driver worked for Lux Homes. Rage burned my throat. I'd spent a year blaming myself for not holding her hand tighter that day. Lila wasn't at the house. Her wheelchair lay overturned in the driveway, one wheel bent. Footprints, small, sneaker-clad, led toward the HOA office. My heart stopped. She'd drawn a map. On the back of her unpermitted structure violation, she'd sketched the route to Evelyn's mansion, marked with a shaky star. I'll make them say sorry, Daddy. Evelyn's house was a fortress of marble and security cameras, but the back window was cracked open, just wide enough for a determined 10-year-old. I found Lila in the study, her prosthetic leg caught in a fallen desk chair. She clutched a file labeled Accident Disposal. I wanted to help, she whispered, tears streaking her dusty face. The file contained photos of the hit and run, a Lux Homes truck, a driver paid to remove obstacles. Lila was the obstacle. Headlights sliced through the room. Kyle's voice boomed, "Check the study!" I shoved Lila into a closet. "Don't move, no matter what." Evelyn strode in, her heels clicking like a countdown. "You shouldn't have come here, Mr. Vega." I held up the file. "You tried to kill my daughter." She sighed as if explaining taxes. "That lot's worth $3 million. You were supposed to fold after the accident, but you're stubborn, like your wife." The air left my lungs. "What?" She smiled. "Brakes don't fail on their own." The closet door creaked. Lila lunged, swinging her bent prosthetic leg like a bat. It cracked against Evelyn's knee. "Run!" she screamed. Gunshots rang out as I grabbed her. The first bullet shattered Evelyn's marble desk. The second grazed my shoulder. I dragged Lila behind a leather couch, her prosthetic leg still clutched in her hands like a weapon. "Stay down!" I barked, peering over the edge. Kyle and two goons stormed the room, guns raised. Evelyn limped toward them, her ruined knee leaking blood. "Kill him! And silence the girl!" Lila whimpered. I scanned the room, no exits except the window. 3 stories up, then the lights died. A voice hissed from the hallway. "This way!" Gabe, the twitchy compliance officer, waved a flashlight. "Move!" We crashed through a service door, Gabe leading us down a narrow staircase. "They'll have the grounds locked down. Your car?" "Is in their damn impound lot," I snapped. He tossed me a key fob. "Not anymore." My Mercedes idled at the curb, pristine and roaring, hydraulics intact. "How?" "I owed your wife," Gabe said, shoving Lila into the back seat. "She helped my sister. Go!" Kyle's shout echoed behind us. A gunshot. Gabe fell. Lila screamed. I floored it. The Mercedes flew over speed bumps. Lila's arms wrapped around my neck from behind. "Is Gabe dead?" "Don't look back," I lied. My phone buzzed. "Marcos, alive?" "Meet at the shop. Bring the ledger." The auto shop was Marcos's kingdom, a graveyard of broken cars and secrets. He sat at his desk, face bandaged, holding a whiskey bottle and a shotgun. "Evelyn's brother runs the city council. They're dumping toxic waste under your lot. That's why they need it." Lila stared at the ledger, her finger tracing the word disposal. "They hurt Mommy too?" Marcos froze. "Javi, you didn't tell her?" The truth hung in the air like smoke. Lila's eyes filled with tears. The car crash wasn't an accident? I reached for her. She recoiled. "You knew." "I thought it was my fault," I choked out. "I was supposed to pick her up that day, but I stayed late to work on the car." A sob tore from her throat. "You let them win." The Mercedes' hydraulics whined as I lifted it onto the tow truck. Lila watched from the office, her face pressed to the glass. Marcos lit a cigar. "What's the play?" I slammed the hood. "Burn it all," he grinned. "Took you long enough." We struck at dawn. The HOA office erupted in flames, fireworks rigged in the hydraulics of my lowrider lighting up the sky. Evelyn's mansion next. Then the Lux Homes construction site. But as the smoke cleared, I saw it. The black SUV speeding toward the shop. Toward Lila. The SUV plowed through the shop's chain-link fence, its grill snarling like a rabid dog. Lila's wheelchair sat empty by the office door. "Lila!" I sprinted past the burning lowrider, Marcos limping behind me. Kyle leaped out of the SUV, a Molotov cocktail in hand. "Should have sold when you had the chance, Vega." He hurled it. The shop's fuel drum exploded. Heat seared my back as I dove behind a stack of tires. Marcos wasn't so lucky. "Go!" he roared, his shirt melting into his skin. "I'll hold them." Lila's voice crackled over the shop intercom. "Daddy, the roof!" She'd climbed the rafters, her prosthetic leg dangling precariously. Below her, Evelyn limped into the inferno, a pistol aimed upward. "Jump, baby!" I screamed. Lila let go. She crashed into me, her weight slamming us both into a wall of toolboxes. Evelyn's bullet shattered the windshield of my Mercedes. "You ruined everything," she shrieked, reloading. Lila grabbed a tire iron. "You ruined my mom." She swung. The iron cracked Evelyn's wrist. The gun clattered away. The cops arrived as the roof caved in. Not the bribed ones. Feds. They cuffed Evelyn, her perfect hair now ash and blood. "This isn't over," she spat. "My brother owns this town." An agent stepped forward, badge glinting. "Not anymore. Your storage unit? We found the bodies." Bodies? Lila buried her face in my chest. I didn't let her look. At the hospital, Marcos's burns glistened under bandages. "Gabe talked before he died. The toxics under your lot? They're in the water. Half the neighborhood's sick." Lila gripped my hand. "We have to tell them." "They'll call us liars," I said. She lifted her chin, her mother's stubbornness blazing in her eyes. "Then we show them." The Mercedes waited in the impound lot, its hydraulics still intact. Lila duct-taped a phone to the bumper, live streaming as I lowered it into the storm drain beneath our house. The camera flickered to life, revealing barrels stamped Lux Homes Biohazard. Chat exploded. "Call the news!" "My kid drank that water!" "Burn the hoy!" Evelyn's brother met us at the Capitol steps, his smile slick as oil. "A misunderstanding, Mr. Vega. Let's discuss compensation." Lila rolled forward, her phone still streaming. "Talk to the people you poisoned." He lunged for her. I broke his nose with one punch. The video of me breaking the councilman's nose went viral before his bodyguards tackled me. "Vigilante mechanic assault city leader," the headline screamed. But the comments told a different story. "Hero." "Where's the toxic waste now?" "Javi Vega for mayor." They dropped the charges. Not out of kindness, out of fear. The EPA raided Lux Homes. The governor launched an investigation. And for 3 days, I almost believed we'd won. Then they poisoned Lila. It started with dizzy spells. Then nosebleeds. By the time I carried her into the ER, her skin was the color of concrete. "Thallium," the doctor said, gloves snapping. "Rare. Deadly. How'd she ingest it?" The answer sat in my mailbox. A pristine bottle of water labeled Community Safety Initiative Free. Lila's name was handwritten on the cap. Marcos hacked Lux Home's payroll while I paced the ICU. Evelyn's brother hired a chemist last month. Specializes in undetectables. I crushed the water bottle. "Where is he?" "Disappeared, but the HOA is still active." New president. The photo made my blood freeze. Gabe's sister, Maria Torres, the social worker. She met me at the playground where Lila's accident happened. "I tried to warn you," she said, rocking a stroller with one hand. Inside slept a baby with Gabe's eyes. "You sent Lila to the hospital." "They threatened him." Her voice cracked. "Evelyn's brother said he'd correct my son's clubfoot permanently." I stepped closer. "Where's the chemist?" You don't understand. They're not just in this town. They're everywhere. A van door slammed. Maria's eyes widened. Run! The bullet tore through her chest before she hit the ground. I grabbed the stroller, sprinting as tires screeched behind me. Lila's fourth pull flashed in my mind. Thallium. Antidote. Prussian blue. The Mercedes waited behind the diner. I strapped the screaming baby into Lila's wheelchair spot. Hold on, kid. Maria's phone buzzed in the stroller. One text. Checkmate. Your move, Mr. Vega attached was a live feed of Lila's hospital room. Empty bed, monitors smashed, and a single white rose on her pillow. The baby wouldn't stop screaming. His cries echoed through the Mercedes as I swerved down back roads, the GPS on Maria's phone blinking toward a remote warehouse marked Lux Homes, Sector 4. Lila's empty hospital bed haunted the dashboard screen. Marcos called, breathless. The chemist's name is Dr. Voss, Evelyn's ex-husband. He's got a lab in the old water treatment plant. And Javi, he's the one who treated your wife's cancer. The world blurred. Dr. Voss. The man who'd handed me pamphlets for experimental treatments. The man who'd said, there's nothing more we can do, all while pumping toxins into our water. I left the baby with Marcos' sister, Rosa, along with a note. If I don't come back, name him Gabriel. The treatment plant loomed like a rotten tooth. Chain link fences, no cameras. Just the stench of chemicals and the hum of a generator. Lila's wheelchair sat by the entrance, her stuffed orca missing an eye. A voice crackled over a loudspeaker. Drop your weapons, hands up. Dr. Voss stood on a catwalk, Lila limp in his arms. An IV drip fed into her arm. Prussian blue, he said. The antidote's in her system, for now. I'd lunged for the stairs. He pressed a syringe to Lila's neck. You'll listen first. The story spilled out like acid. Evelyn's brother had funded Dr. Voss's research for years, testing toxins on volunteers like my wife. Lila's accident? A warning after I'd refused to sell the land. Your wife begged me to save her, Dr. Voss said. But we needed data. I gripped the railing. You killed her. You did, he smiled. By being too poor, too stubborn, too weak to protect them. Lila's eyes fluttered open. Daddy? Dr. Voss raised the syringe. Say goodbye. The Mercedes exploded. Not the car, the hydraulics. I'd rigged them to blow at 9 p.m. sharp. The catwalk shook. Dr. Voss stumbled. I leapt, grabbing Lila as the syringe skittered into the dark. Hold on. I wrapped her in my jacket, jumping onto a conveyor belt. Dr. Voss scrambled after us, his lab coat snagging in the machinery. You'll die down here. Already did, I said. 6 years ago. The belt dumped us into a drainage tunnel. Dr. Voss's screams faded beneath the grind of gears. Lila's pulse thready, I carried her through knee-deep sludge. The tunnel opened to a riverbank where Marcos waited, a stolen ambulance idling. Evelyn's brother's in custody, he said. They found the toxics. It's over. But Lila's breath hitched. The antidote wasn't working. Javi. Marcos gripped my shoulder. The baby. Rosa said he's burning up. Thallium in the bottle, thallium in the water, thallium in Maria's breast milk. They'd poisoned us all. The hospital quarantined the block. News vans circled like vultures. HOA death water? Cover up, killer chemist! Lila flatlined twice. The third time I crawled into her bed, clutching her against my chest. Fight, mija, fight! She didn't wake up, but at dawn, her fever broke. Dr. Voss's body washed up that morning. So did a dozen barrels of Prussian blue. Anonymous donor, the nurses said. I knew better. Gabe's sister had kept receipts. Evelyn's trial starts next month. Lila still can't walk, but tonight we're in the garage. She paints over the Mercedes' charred frame, a mural of her mom flying over a burning HOA sign. "It's ugly," she says. "Perfect," I say. The engine roars to life. The engine's growl drowned out the knock at first. Then it came again. 3 sharp raps, the sound of someone who'd never fixed anything with their own hands. Lila froze, paint dripping onto her sneakers. "Daddy!" I flicked off the Mercedes' ignition. The garage fell silent except for the creak of the door swinging open. A man in a charcoal gray suit stood silhouetted against the sunset, a briefcase in one hand and a file stamped "classified" in the other. He smelled like money and mothballs. "Mr. Vega," he said, voice smooth as oil. "We need to discuss your daughter's condition." Lila's grip tightened on my arm. "I'm not sick anymore." The man smiled. "Not sick. Special." He opened the file. Photos of Lila's blood work, her hospital charts, pages of lab results I couldn't understand. At the bottom, a logo, a serpent coiled around a double helix. "Thallium exposure should have killed her," he said. "Instead, her cells are adapting." Dr. Voss's notes called it Project Phoenix. My throat went dry. "Get out." He slid a business card onto the workbench. "National Advanced Research Division." "We can make her walk again," he said. "Full mobility, no prosthetics. But we'll need samples." Lila's breath hitched. "Daddy, what's he talking about?" The man leaned closer, his shadow swallowing her wheelchair. "Your wife wasn't the first test subject, Mr. Vega. Just the first to die." Marcos found me digging through Dr. Voss's old lab that night. The place had been picked clean, but I knew the vents. Knew where a desperate man might hide a backup drive. "This is suicide," Marcos said, shining his phone light on a rusted ladder. "Let it go." The drive was taped behind a panel labeled Phoenix Subject 23. Home videos. My wife, gaunt but grinning, holding a newborn Lila. "Day 1 of treatment," she whispered to the camera. "They say her cells could change everything." Another clip. Dr. Voss handing her a pill. "For immunity," he said. A final video time-stamped the night she died, her face skeletal, eyes blazing. "They lied, Javier. The thallium, it's not for the water, it's for her. To activate what I gave her. Tell Lila I'm sorry." The screen went black. Lila was gone when I got back. Her wheelchair sat abandoned by the Mercedes her stuffed orca ripped open. Cotton guts spilled out, along with a note. "Trade the drive for the girl. You have till dawn." A phone rang in the orca's belly. "Bring it to the old water tower," a mechanized voice said. "Alone. Or we'll see how adaptive she really is." Marcos cocked his shotgun. "I'm going with you." "No." I taped the drive to his chest. "If I don't come back, burn it." He grabbed my collar. "This isn't a fight you can win with a wrench and prayers, Javi." I pried his hand off. "Watch me." The water tower loomed like a grave marker. Lila hung in a harness halfway up, her arms duct-taped, a collar blinking red around her neck. The man in the gray suit waited below, a syringe glinting in his palm. "The drive." I held it up. "Let her down first." He pressed a button. The collar beeped faster. "You don't make the rules, mechanic." An engine roared in the distance. My Mercedes tearing across the field, driverless. Lila's voice crackled over the radio. "Daddy, I rigged the hydraulics. Get clear." The lowrider launched off a berm, soaring toward the tower. The man screamed. I dove. The Mercedes slammed into the water tower, hydraulics exploding in a shower of sparks. The collision snapped Lila's harness. She fell, the collar's red light blinking faster. 5, 4, 3. I caught her midair, rolling us behind a rusted pump house as the blast tore through the night. Heat seared my back. Metal shrieked. When the smoke cleared, the tower was gone. So was the man in the gray suit. Lila trembled in my arms, the collar's remains hanging loose. I modified the remote, like Mom taught me. Sirens wailed in the distance. Not cops, reporters. Marcos met us at Rosa's, the drive's contents already blasting across every news outlet. Footage of my wife's videos, Dr. Voss's logs, the government's Phoenix Project, experimenting on unknowing families for decades. Lila's face dominated the screen, a symbol of survival. Miracle Girl survives HOA, toxins, and government experiments. The Mercedes sat in Rosa's driveway, its frame scorched but engine still growling. Reporters swarmed, shouting questions. What's next for the Vegas? Lila wheeled forward, chin high. We're going to fix our house and help others fix theirs. They never found the man in the suit's body, but 2 days later a package arrived, a vial of Prussian blue and a note. Stay quiet. Stay safe. Or the next gift won't be medicine. Marcos wanted to burn it. Lila stopped him. We'll need it, she said, tucking the vial into her backpack. For the others. Tonight we're back in the garage. Lila welds a new hydraulic line, her hands steady. The scars on her legs glow under the work light, jagged maps of pain and survival. They'll come back, she says. I hand her a wrench. Let them. The Mercedes roars to life, its engine a promise. Some wars don't end, but neither do we.